All right, everyone, welcome to the latest episode of the Toon podcast. Today, we have got two things we're going to bring to you. One is a review of the game down in the capital where Newcastle just shit the bed against the Hammers, and we are going to briefly talk about the up-and-coming Champions League game where a break from the league might actually be a good thing for us right now. I am joined by Dimmy down in Melbourne. How you doing, mate?
Not bad, mate. Considering the shit result this morning, I had a day off. I was saying before, I had a day off today, so thank goodness for that. Otherwise, it would have been a very rough Monday. And obviously, the great state of Victoria give us a day off tomorrow as well for the horses. So at least it's a long weekend. That's a small win after a dismal result.
Yeah, well, unlike us here in Queensland, Mark, where Victoria get a public holiday every 33 days by the looks of it, some of us have actually got to go to work. How's your day been since you woke up this morning and realised what had happened?
Well, I'm actually off tomorrow anyway, so I don't care.
All right, okay.
So I'm while Victoria gets a public holiday for the Melbourne Cup, we don't here in the sunny state of Queensland, waiting on our thunderstorms to hit. It's like 90-odd% humidity at the moment. You can cut the air with a knife, but I'm off tomorrow, off to the boat club, got a couple of course meal and some drinks package going on, watching some horses run around a field for a few hours. So it should be good fun. Certainly more fun than watching the replay, because I did not stay up for it last night, and I am very, very pleased with that. And so since today's been such a shit show, watching some very low lights and trying sort of my best to decipher what was going on in the match. I have worn my sunny holiday cheery shirt to see if I can bring a bit of light back into the rest of the Newcastle fans, who I am sure are as down in the dumps as we are.
Well, I will apologise in advance if the air is a bit bluer than normal, because obviously that was a shit show and a half. Both Dimmy and myself were up watching the game live, as we tend to do. And we were in the chat as the game was progressing, and things weren't exactly going well come the second half, but we're going to take a few steps back. The early signs were really there when Bowen hit the post in, the 4th minute, I believe it was, Dimmy? And, we kind of rode the luck a little bit with that one as Murphy went up the pitch to score the goal, which wasn't celebrated, which was a bit weird. But after that, it was just a capital crapshoot. What was your thoughts on the opening 10, 15 minutes or so, Dimmy?
Yeah, well, usually you say an early goal is the best thing for you, but it can work against you as well. It can lull you into a false sense of security. And when you're playing a team who's, let's be honest, they've been rubbish this season, West Ham, and they haven't won a game at home in who knows how long, over a year, I think it is. I think the early goal probably made us even relax even more than we possibly could. Thought, we've got the goal, they're going to drop their bundles, it's going to be an easy walk in the park here in East London. They're going to be getting on their team, they're going to be doing a sit-in protest at the end of the game. We probably thought we'll cruise our way to a 2-3-0 victory. But yeah, the signs weren't great. Even after the goal in the first 10-15 minutes, we didn't look fluid. We were giving the ball away really cheaply. West Ham weren't punishing us because they're terrible, but I think the longer the half went on, and obviously the way we started was the way we finished the half, and the way we played the game really, it was just sloppy all round. And yeah, probably not the best thing for us, I think, to score that early goal, because if we were a little bit complacent going into the game, that goal maybe even made us even more complacent.
Mark, looking at the lineup, there was one obvious change, and that was Kraft coming in for the ill trips. Now, there is a bit of a rumour that there is a bug going around the camp. Obviously, Tonali missed the game last week when he was on the bench. He wasn't feeling too well. Maybe this bug is spread around. Maybe everyone's got the shits. Maybe nobody could be bothered. But when you were watching the game back on the highlights, what was your immediate thought to the type of football we were trying to play and how West Ham counteracted that?
So I didn't even watch the highlights. I did actually subject myself to the whole game.
All right, okay.
It was a glutton for punishment. I did use the skip button, you can skip 15 seconds at a time. So I kind of sort of watched it on speed dial, if you like, but it still got the desired effect. Look, I think I've sort of said today already that I was very surprised at the lack of celebrations on the goal when we scored. Normally that would be like, yeah, we're into them early, we've scored the opening goal, right, let's get at them, get some energy going. You know, like when you see us getting kind of like the home crowd going and we're revving everyone up for like winning a throw in or something, you kind of expect a little bit more. And I think that kind of just seemed to be the general feeling for the whole game for me. It was very lethargic, very like lackluster. There was no real urgency about anything. There was no pace. There was no pressure. I mean, all in all, that's probably the worst performance I think we've had since Howe took over. And I don't think that's being hyperbolic at all. I think it's hard to picture us having a more listless performance than that one, just in general. And I think if you have a look at what we've done this season, so, you know, and I'm sure we'll get into having a discussion about why we think our troubles are there in the first place. But if you look at the things that have gone wrong for us this season, or the things that we've not done right, or anything like that, this seemed to be kind of like our own little highlight reel of all of that crap that we just couldn't do in the other games. Not passing, not pressing properly. When someone does press, the rest of the team's nowhere to be seen, and so it's an easy ball out. So we're just wasting energy. You know, like just not going past people, passing it to the opposition, like the basics, but also like the very Eddie Howe fundamentals that we see all the time. So yeah, for me, it was an appalling display. And I know that the Eddie Howe out brigade are all up in arms again, as per usual, whenever we lose a game. I'm never going to get to that stage, because I think from my perspective, he can do what he wants from now on. He's brought us a cup and brought us some success. But yeah, there's definitely question marks over that performance and just why we're not doing anything away from home. Is it players? You know, we'll get into that, but yeah, I was appalled with the lack of effort and cohesion. It just looked like they were there strolling around, expecting, just maybe not giving West Ham the kind of recognition, giving them the respect that they deserve as a Premier League team. They may be crap, but you've still got to turn up and play your game.
Yeah, absolutely. There was shit show from pretty much the 6th minute right through until the final whistle. Now, the first goal from Bruno's best mate, Paqueta, or Paqueta, as our mate of the show, Razor, likes to call him. What did you think of the shot, Demi? And do you think, and I think I pretty much know the answer to this one, do you think Pope should have done better?
Yeah, definitely. He definitely should have done better. But for me, there was that whole passage of play, that 10 seconds, was just a comedy of errors. I mean, the first part was, the cross was really floated in. He should have just grabbed it. Pope should have grabbed the ball and commanded his box. Or if he decided to punch it, don't punch it down the middle. Punch it out for a throw-in. Punch it out for a corner even. Doesn't matter. So that was the first mistake. The second mistake was Bruno watching his mate take a shot. Bruno had to close that shot down and had to show some sort of effort to close the ball and not let the shot come in. Obviously, he's got a great strike on him, Paqueta, or Paqueta, whatever you want to call him. Obviously, he hit the ball with that nice little dip, which fooled Pope. But, I mean, at his near post, it wasn't as if it was top bins or anything like that. That had to be saved. But probably for a goalkeeper like Pope, who's that tall, to get down quickly maybe was his kryptonite in that moment. And maybe Paqueta was thinking that maybe I'll hit one low with a bit of bend and maybe he won't be able to get down. But it was very frustrating to concede a goal like that. I mean, it had been coming, if I'm honest. It did seem like we were going to concede a goal just the way we were giving the ball away. Not that Pope was making save after save, but the way we were giving the ball away, it seemed like it was coming. But the fact it came like that from an unforced error was, it was very frustrating.
Like you did mention that he hit the ball low and trying to catch Pope out with him being so tall. I can't remember if this was before or after the first goal, but they had a free kick in a similar position where he drew it underneath the wall and Pope got down well to save that one. Maybe that was like a test bed. I think, where can I try and catch the keeper out? So he's definitely trying to work out where the weak spots are, that sort of thing. But yeah, I think he should have done better. I take your own agreement as well, Mark.
Yeah, I think we've seen him make saves like that. So
Aye.
yeah, just scratch it up to lack of concentration or something. Who knows? But yeah, should be doing better with those.
And then pretty much the first half was pretty much all West Ham, to be honest. We had one other chance from Murphy. Keeper well saved this one. It was actually fairly similar to the opportunity he had when he scored his goal, which was a well taken one. And then I think it was 39 minutes or so, something like that, when Dan Burn, I think he was caught out of position at left back, which, I will never give Dan Burn stick. He scored the goal in the final, but he was definitely out of position on this one. Ball comes through, and Dan Burn, Botman, he tries to slide it clear, put it out to touch, whatever he tries to do, but he puts it into the bottom corner. And again, Dimmy, you were critical of Nick Pope's position on this one. Have you had time to rethink that, or are you just thinking that he was definitely in the wrong on that one again?
Look, I'm not saying it's his fault, but I think his positioning was a little bit off. I mean, he's obviously trying to cover the cross, but he seemed to be way too far on the right side of his goal. And I mean, he's not expecting Botman to put one in the bottom corner like that. But perhaps if he was in the middle of his goals, he might have been able to scramble that clear. But yeah, I'm not saying it was Pope's fault, but he was a little bit, in my opinion, off in terms of his positioning in that moment. But the ball shouldn't have got there. That goal came because Gordon and Byrne were too busy having their halftime snakes, and they were nowhere to be seen. And Wan-Bissaka was able to cruise down the right wing. So that again, unforced errors by us, not good play by West Ham, and we've gifted them 2 goals and literally with 30 seconds or whatever it was before halftime. So we've given them a massive fillip right before halftime.
Do you think Botman or Pope could have done any better on that one, Mark? Or do you think, just a genuine mistake, hold your hand up, and, it happens, it's football?
I know what Demi's saying. I can't blame Pope because I think he's moved to the right, trying to anticipate the ball going across there for someone to kind of, and he's trying to close his lines down and anticipate. And we saw the other night with Ramsdale where, against Tottenham, where he kind of made the move early and managed to make a good save because he anticipated where the ball was going. I don't think Pope's going to expect that that Botman's going to be sort of like toe poking it into the near stick. I don't think Botman can really do much more than that. It's just one of those things where, as a defender, he's got to go for it and try and block it, and sometimes that sort of stuff happens. But as Dimmy says, it's like it shouldn't have even got to that. It was like I think the Dan Burn at left back experiment is well and truly over. I don't think he is a good enough left back to play that week in, week out in the Premier League. As much as I think he's great and I love him, and if he wants to be in the side, then get him playing at centre half again, playing at centre back. If he plays left back, then we just lose a lot because he can't get back quick enough. And Gordon certainly not helping, probably his worst game for us for a long time. Kept giving the ball away, wasn't really tracking back as much as he should have been. And to get that kind of like an easy ball through to start putting those crosses through in the first place, well, that's not the defender's fault when other people should have been doing their jobs better.
So halftime goes 2-1. It all started rosy and it all ended in disastrous fashion for us. That's Newcastle United in a nutshell in most cases, to be honest. But half-time, Eddie makes 3 changes, and I think we'd all be in agreement before that second half even started or ended, to be honest. We'd all be thinking, they're quite positive changes. He's trying to get a reaction out of the players. Taking Gordon, I think it was Voltemata and Kraft, I think, all went off. Yep. Positive changes, you'd think. You think, yep, he's going to push up the pitch, going to have a bit more pace up front with Sula chasing everything down. But I've never seen 3 subs at halftime being so ineffective before. It was absolutely shambolic. That second half performance was worse than the first, in my opinion. Yes, we only conceded the 1 extra goal, but the way we went about business just being so sloppy, so lethargic, so gutless in possession, no attacking threat, no willingness to get forward, no one taking a shot on goal. I don't think we had a shot on goal in the second half until maybe the 85th minute, which was a weak attempt by Asula, something like that. But that second half, as you said, Mark, it just absolutely sums up everything that's been wrong. with this season so far in terms of the negativity.
What I don't get, though, and one of you can probably enlighten me here, but what were we doing positionally and formation-wise when we made those substitutes at halftime? So were we playing 3-5-2 or 3-5, like whatever, 3-5-1-1 is what I was suggesting in the group chat this morning? Because it's like, we've brought off our only right back. We don't have a recognised left back. We then have no wing backs on the pitch because we have no backup sort of like wing backs players. So Murphy's kind of slotting in at right back. And then we had this merry-go-round of players as we made further substitutions. And we had 4 different players play at right back for us this game. That's not bringing any cohesion to the side when things are not going right for you, when everybody's playing out of position and nobody seems to know what their jobs are.
Now, Dimmy, I can only imagine you. An hour on the clock, we're still 2-1 down. Those subs have come on, made very little impact. I'd imagine the air's turning blue where you're watching the TV right now. Your fist is probably this close going through the TV screen. Sum up your emotions and your reactions as the minutes were ticking down on the clock as the end to the second half was approaching.
The anger was building. It's fair to say, but you do learn with an 18-month-old baby sleeping in the next room and the missus sleeping as well. You do learn just to try and just control it just a little bit, because anything that you want to externalize, you have to internalize, and it's not healthy to do that, because I was doing a lot of miming, and a lot. I'm sure the miming was just as loud, but I'm sure you could hear me mime the abuse that I was trying to convey to the TV screen. But I think on your point, Mark, I think what we were doing at the start was definitely 3 at the back with Murphy as a right wing back, but then the kicker was Dan Burn as a left wing back.
Yeah,
I've never seen Dan Burn play left wing back before, and I don't want to see him play left wing back ever again either. But it highlights to me, and the worrying thing for me was we were terrible in the first half, and we agree there should have been changes. But you're down 2-1. We're not down 4-0, and we're playing West Ham. There's no need, in my opinion, to completely shift our system at halftime. And not only shift our system, but move other players out of position. So we've moved Dan Burn into a left wing back position. We've moved Murphy into a right wing back position. And we've pushed Joe Linton sort of as a winger / inside forward on the left. So we're playing 3 or 4 players out of position to try and just get attacking quality on the pitch, or getting attacking momentum on the pitch. And it reeks of a couple of games at the end of last season. I think the Everton one, where we were eventually playing like a 2-6-2 or some ridiculous formation where we're just throwing every attacking player on without any idea what to do. And I think probably the next evolution of us as a team, or one of the next evolutions of us as a team, is being considered and being able to flip games without going spazzo like we just did, and throwing the players on as we did, especially that early. You can clearly see that we didn't work on that, or didn't work on that enough for the players to know what they were going to do. And as soon as West Ham sat deep, our wing-back formation was finished, and we didn't want to cross the ball in because we only had one in the box, and it was just ring a rosy. So it was a very frustrating second half, because as soon as the changes were made and the second half started, you could just see there's just no positive momentum on the ball, and it looked like one of those games that we could have been playing for 5 hours. We're never going to score.
But like the issues as well never stopped with those initial 3 substitutions, because every other sub that we made just confused matters even more, because we brought Harvey Barnes on to play did he come on for Murphy? And
then, right wing initially,
yeah. And so he was playing on the right wing, and you're going, well, no, get him on the left wing. That's where he's best. Like, give him a chance. And then apparently Sandro Tonali ended up finishing the game at right back because we made more. And it's just, none of this makes any sense. And I don't know if it was just out of exasperation of Howe, but like that to me was worrying, that there was no clear plan. And again, it's like, I will back Howe against all the players, all the noise online that are saying like, get him sacked and we need to move on, and he's found his limits and all that. I don't think he has, but that game does him no favors whatsoever with tactical substitutions like that, where it's just utter chaos.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't his finest moment, and he can only learn from this. And one thing we have known from Eddie is when he does make a mistake, he does actually try and learn from it as well.
Yeah,
So
100%.
you know, he will come out the better person for it. But that second half performance for me, I was so angry, so frustrated. I've never went to bed after a loss, woke up angrier than I actually went to bed for. It was so irate when I woke up this morning. I barely spoke to the wife. Got to work this morning. They were like, "What's up with him?" I was like, "Don't talk to us. Football matters, right? Leave him alone for half an hour. Let him stew. Let his Red Bull kick in, and you'll get a little bit chatty later on." I was so fucking apocalyptic with rage. I was ready to punch fuck out of anything that I could grab my fist onto. I'm not an angry person by default. You know, I might have short man syndrome, that type of thing. But I just wanted to smash the shit out of anything. I sit about this close to my TV when I'm watching the game because I'm so engrossed in it. I literally pushed my chair back because I was ready just to kick the fuck out of it. And I know I'm swearing on I said I'm going to turn the blue on this one right here, but that performance cannot continue. It has to be like Brentford last year when we put in that absolute shit show down there. And Eddie then had the one-to-one with the players, that a group session or whatever as well. Clear the air talks, said, look, what went wrong? This is what we need to do to fix it. Let's start climbing the table. And that's when things started to fall into place. And I believe it was actually a very similar time of year as well, into the season last year.
1 month later.
1 month, okay, yeah. And I believe at the start of this game, we were actually on the same amount of points as we were at the same stage last season. So it's not all disaster. It's not all and this isn't going to be the be-all, end-all of the season. But in terms of performances and getting momentum going forward, this could have potentially have been a walk in the park. It should have been a walk in the park given West Ham's home form. They've scored 2 goals at home all season. They put 3 past us. It's genuinely an absolute disaster and shit show. I hope we never see another performance like that again. No doubt we will, because, you know, football's football. Shit like that happens. But as long as we come out of this the better team, we learn from it, we grow from it, and we can move on to the next game, which we'll talk about soon. A break from the league could do us good. But how do you see this impacting the next league game, which just mentioned is Brentford, Dimmy? Another trip down to the capital, where if we wear the green shirt, by the way, I'm not watching. Simple as that. Bin the white shirt, bin the green shirt, burn it, do whatever, do not care, do not want to see us playing that cursed monstrosity ever again. Hoy the away shirt on. I don't know if we'll play in black and white stripes down there. I don't think we'll be allowed to with the stripe clash. But either way, just get rid of that green shirt. It's an absolute shit piece. I don't think we've won a game in it. I can't remember the last time we won a game in the green shirt. If anybody in the comments wants to let us know, by all means do so. But your thoughts on progression moving forward, Dimmy, in the league on this one?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Brentford away is not an easy game, and we saw what they did to us last season. Most games we've had with them down there have been tough, and obviously they're a different side this year. They don't have Mbuemo, they don't have Wissa, but they've still got a lot of quality, and they still play that similar sort of direct, in your face, dangerous counter-attacking football with pace up front. And the way that we perform today, I mean, if we play anything like we did today, we'll get absolutely ripped apart next week. And the frustrating thing for me is leading into this West Ham game, we've won 5 of 6 in all competitions. So you can't say that confidence is not high at the moment. You have to think confidence is high. We've won 3 games in a week, albeit all those games at home in 3 different competitions. But confidence has to be high. And not only confidence being high, we scored 4 bloody minutes into the game against the shit team. They're the sort of games where you step on their throat, you go 2-3 up in the first half an hour and the game's done. Then you can cruise. Then you can muck around and do whatever you have to do, make substitutions after an hour. But we've put that much pressure on ourselves now. We've got to essentially go to Brentford to win the game next week. There's no other option for us, in my opinion, but to go to Brentford to win that game. And not to say that, we lose or we draw, a season's over, but the fact that we haven't won an away game in so long, we've put in poor performances now in the last couple of away games. We need to respond not only with a performance, but with the result. And it's putting a lot of pressure on us to do that, because Brentford are not an easy team to play against, and it's going to be tough for us. But look, if, like I said in the chat at halftime, if we want to be a top team, if we want to be a consistent Champions League level team, there's going to be adversity in games, and you have to respond. And I said that at halftime. I said we're 2-1 down. I said, look, these are sort of games that if you're a top team, you regroup at halftime, you gather yourselves, and you get a result, or you go on and win the game. We're not playing peak Barcelona here. We can win. We can still win this game, even though we're 2-1 down, playing like shit. So again, I'll say the same thing. If we want to be a top team, we need to respond and win games under adversity. And next week's going to be a real tough game in the league, but we just have to show up, and we have to get a result.
Mark, in a quick summary, where would you pinpoint what's gone wrong with our away form this season?
It's not been good since the cup final, really, though, has it? Let's be fair.
Not really, not.
I agree with Dimmy in that I wasn't so stressed about the result at the end. I wanted to see a spark. I wanted to see some improvement. I wanted to see us give everything we had in that second half, and it just got worse. And I think that for me was probably one of the more worrying things, was like, well, at least if you've kind of, you've given them the lead stupidly or however it's got in, but you've come out and you've done yourselves proud in the second half, and you probably deserved something out the game, and you didn't get the rub of the green or whatever. But it was just like that lack of anything kind of creative or something going on. I don't know where this has gone wrong. And it has definitely gone wrong. I do think it's probably a mixture of a lot of things. Hopefully, as you said, it's this game is the wake-up call that the Brentford game was, and they all go away and they sort of look hard at themselves, and they have a big team meeting, and they kind of come up with a refocused energy, so to speak. Look, we had a very disruptive summer. We had a lot of players brought into the club. We had a busy transfer window in the end, but it was all done very late. So we had an interrupted preseason. We don't have a lot of players that were kind of with us for the preseason tour that are now essentially being asked to start games. Did we buy too many players at once? I think there's some players that we've bought who maybe we haven't seen enough of, some that aren't really performing. In Alanga, I think he's been very poor this season so far. Are we trying to change the way we play to get away from the injuries and being too focused on that with this chop change and not keeping a settled enough side while we're not quite in peak form so we can actually get everyone into form? Is it that we've kind of lost a couple of key players in like Tino, Hall? Obviously the Rat's gone, but we've got a centre forward who's scoring goals. So we can't really use that as too much of an excuse. I still think Wissa would have made a huge difference for us. I think he's a big miss. I think he was like literally a like for like swap, and it would have slotted straight in. So have we had to start playing around with our formation and our tactics because we've got a different style of forward that we need to kind of try and accommodate, and we're still searching for how best to get that working? Our players, are they tired? Is it the fact that we've got loads and loads of games, and we've had, as I said, we've had a lot of players brought in late, and they've just not had the time on the training ground. So either fitness levels are not up to where they are, they're not having enough time tactically to work on matches because of all of the traveling that we've got at the moment. I don't know. There's a lot of factors that could be at play. But for me, it's just something needs to start clicking, and soon. It's just worrying that like a lot of our big players are just doing the fundamentals wrong at the moment, and we're not pressing as a team, we're not pressing as a unit, we're not playing as that kind of in sync formation that we have done like since Howe took over, pretty much. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just hoping that this kind of sparks something in all the players, and they have a bit of a soul search moment and go, well, look, we've got an opportunity to push on in the league, to qualify for the Champions League again, even though I think that's probably out of our hands now. But, look, we're in cup competition still. Let's give it a crack. Let's climb up the table. Let's see if we can qualify for some kind of European football, even if it's not the Champions League. just do yourselves proud as much as the club at the moment, because at the moment the players are just badly letting themselves down, if anything else.
Well said. Well said. Nice little short summary there, by the way.
I could rant on about this all night.
Don't worry.
I've been quite polite so far.
Slightly politer than I was before, that's for sure. But we'll leave it there. We're not going to bother talk about the third goal or anything else. Souček gets his annual goal against us.
I may have missed that. I may have turned it off before. I only realised we conceded a third after I checked the score later on.
I mean, we were so hoping VAR would overrule it, but I think everyone knew it was a proper goal. Pope didn't even bother. He got a hand with it, but it wasn't two. So it was a goal. No arguments against that one. We're going to end the review of that one there. Thank God. Hopefully, we'll never have to do one of those for a good while. And now, as mentioned at the beginning, we've got a break in the league, or the domestic league, as we return to European action in the Champions League. Mark, I'll come back to you on this one. Do you think a break from Premier League football going into European competition, given the previous match, is a good thing? Or would you like to dive straight into the next Premier League game and get a reaction there first?
Personally, I'd actually prefer to go straight into another Premier League game. Get them some time on the pitch, get them some time in the training ground, work towards repairing that. We've not been playing badly in the Champions League, so I don't think it's necessarily going to tell us anything about the players. I think we'll probably play quite well. I think we'll probably win this game, but the players are all seemingly getting themselves up for these big games. It's the smaller teams, and I don't want to be disrespectful to West Ham. I don't mean smaller, but like the teams that are struggling at the moment. It's about beating the teams we should be beating. But yeah, look, I'm happy. I'm happy that for the fans more than anything that it's a break from the league and we can literally just get on with another European night and enjoy it.
So, Demi, you watch a fair amount of La Liga. What do you know about Athletic Club? I know they've just come off the back of back-to-back defeats in the league. Do you know much about them? And do they have any danger men? Anybody that we should be worried about?
Yeah, they're a good team. They're struggling a little bit in the league. They just lost to Derby this week, 3-2. So they're on a bit of a lull. But their best player didn't start the game, Nico Williams. He's a superstar winger. He's probably one of the next big names to join like a Barcelona or Real Madrid or something like that. He's a world-class winger and quite concerning for us, really, if we're going to be playing the same back four or similar back four if Trips isn't fit, because if he's running at Kraft and or Burn, we'll be in real strife because he's world class and rapid, and him and his brother might run rings around us. So it's going to be a difficult game. They're definitely they're not your top Spanish team. They're not one that probably a lot of mainstream football viewers know, but they are definitely a tough team to beat. More so probably away at their home ground than away from home. But with Nico Williams' quality, I think that they're going to be a danger team to face, and it's not going to be a walk in the park at all for us. And I mean, yeah, it's good to get away from the Premier League and hopefully we get another win. And we've really set ourselves up. If we do, we've set ourselves up in the Champions League to progress to the next stage. But it's sort of one in, one out at the moment for us. Like we're one good result, one bad result in terms of going back from Premier League to League Cup or Premier League to Champions League. So it's definitely, yes, good to leave the Premier League sort of struggles at the moment, but it's definitely not going to be a walk in the park on Thursday morning for us. It's going to be a tough game, and definitely we'll earn the result if we do get it.
Now, looking at the Champions League table, we sit in 8th on just inside the automatic playoff spot, effectively going straight in the next round. They are currently sat in 21st, so they would go into that playoff game to see who they would get through the next round. Do you think this game itself is make or break in terms of how we progress in the Champions League? Because it's now going to be the halfway point of the games that we will play. In terms of results, we could solidify our place in the top 8. We could drop down a few. A win in this game, is this important to the domestic league? Or is it purely just a case of we've got to separate the fixtures between domestic and European? and whatever happens in each one is totally separate from the other. How do you see this one playing out in that field, Mark?
I do think it would be a nice to win. I don't think it's necessarily that important that we qualify. As long as we don't go out straight away, as long as we can at least qualify for the knockout stage, I'll be happy. I think last year kind of proved that there'll be some teams in the top 8 that you can probably still beat. There's some teams in that next chasing pack in the knockout stage that, you know, realistically we should be able to beat if we get lucky with the draw. Knowing us, we'll get one of the top teams again, like we did last year, the last time we were in. I think it's a nice thing to get us some confidence. I think in terms of future European prospects, I think we need the boost in coefficient, if nothing else. And it sounds stupid wanting to win football matches for money, for a bigger prize purse, but you know, that's the nature of the beast at the moment. So yeah, for me, I think it would be a nice match to win, just to kind of solidify us and give us that confidence that we do belong there and we are competitive in Europe. I'm not going to lose too much sleep if we do happen to lose it, as long as we put in a good performance.
Jimmy, if you're Eddie Howe right now, you've got the players available to you. So Lewis Hall, he's back with the squad. I don't think Tino's quite ready just yet. Based on the starting 11 for West Ham, what changes, if any, would you make for this game against Athletic Club?
So pending fitness, I mean, I'd throw Lewis Hall straight in if he's fit, just given the quality that Bilbao have on the break and the scorching pace they have on the wings. I don't want to have Dan Burn isolated one-on-one against Nico. So if Hall's fit, I'm bringing Hall in. If Tripp's fit, I'm bringing Trips in. I'm making a change in midfield as well. I'm getting Joe Linton out of there, and I'm probably putting Louis Miley in. So Louis Miley for me looks like a ready Premier League made footballer. He just needs, I think, a run of games, a consistent run of games, not one or two and then out again. And I think the European game suits him potentially better than the Premier League game because he's very good technically. He's very comfortable on the ball. This is the sort of game we're going to get against Bilbao, so he's going to have to be good on the ball. That will suit him. And I just think the midfield 3 at the moment, they're just being too inconsistent for my liking. And on paper, we've got probably the best midfield 3 in England, let alone one of the top midfield 3s in Europe. But at the moment, it's not really clicking. And Joelinton, for me, has been hot and cold in his performances. So I'd be getting him out of this game where we're going to have a lot of the ball. We're going to need to be a bit more progressive with our passing. So I'd get Miley in. And in terms of our front line, I'd probably shock everyone, and I'd be playing Anthony Elanga this game because Murphy, he has been doing very well. And don't get me wrong, Murphy's earned his spot as a starting right winger, but I think it comes a point that we need to put it on Elanga and say, look, mate, we've paid good money for you. We've bought you to play Champions League football. You're a Swedish national. You've played plenty of quality football in the past. There's no reason why he can't go and perform with the opportunity. And I think we need to give him that confidence and opportunity. And I think a game like against Bilbao, where again we're going to have the ball, we're going to need maybe a bit of extra pace, a bit of extra quality on that wing. I think we need to show him the confidence to start him in this game. And there's no reason why Murphy can't start the weekend game and you have a rotating lineup at that right wing spot. But for me, I'd throw Elanga in there and say, go get your first goal for the club. Go make your mark at St James's Park, because he needs that confidence boost, I think, more than anyone else in the squad. And if he can get a goal and get a good performance, especially at St James's Park, I think that'll be a real big boost, not only for him, but for us generally, because we need him firing for the rest of the sort of front line to start clicking in totality.
Mark, Dimmy touched on the right-hand side there. What would you do on the left? Because Barnes and Gordon haven't exactly been firing in the Premier League, but they have been in the Champions League. Who are you starting on this one?
I'm reluctant to play him after that performance this morning, but I think Gordon starts because he's been in good form in Europe so far. And I'm still I'm still yet to be convinced by Barnes starting games. I think he's great when he comes off the bench because he can run at tired defenders and he can drag players out of position a little bit better. When he starts games, he doesn't seem to get that same amount of space, and I don't think he's got enough in his locker in terms of taking players on directly. I think Gordon's pace, I think if you can get Gordon and Alanga on the wings, I think that's going to cause some issues, and I think that's likely to be our main port of call. I don't think we're going to really be able to play through them technically as much as we can just blaze the wings and get in behind them as quickly as we can.
And one other change, I'll get your opinion on both of this one. A lot of talk of this on social media. Dropping Nick Pope for Ramsdale. Does any of you agree with that at all?
I like Ramsdale. I think even when he comes out of his box in the games that he's played, I've felt so much more at ease than whenever Nick Pope does. And maybe it's just that trauma thing where we know what Nick Pope's done in the past that I can't quite trust what he's going to do with it. And I'm sure if Ramsdale got a run in the side, I'm sure he'll drop a clanger at some point and everyone will go, oh, see, it's the same one as it was at Arsenal. I like him. I think he's more comfortable on the ball. I think we play better out from the back with him in goal. I like Nick Pope. I think he's a great shot stopper. You know, maybe Ramsdale's smelling salts are doing the trick and he's concentrating better nowadays. But, you know, I'd be sticking with Nick Pope for the moment until he really makes it too hard to drop it, to not drop him.
You're not in agreement there, Dimmy?
Yeah, I mean, he was disappointing this morning, but I think Pope's been very good this season for us, and he's hasn't really let us down in most games. So, yes, he made a mistake and was a bit scratchy this morning, but you can't drop a keeper off one bad performance because every keeper's going to make a mistake probably every couple of games. So you have to back him in, and if he has a bad run, 3-4 games, that's when you consider it. But yeah, for now, I'd be keeping Pope in.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one. Yeah, Ramsdale, as good as he is, scheme for the cups. Give Pope a bit of a break if and when needed. But I think we will wrap it up there. But just before we absolutely do, I just want to get your predictions for the Champions League game. Mark, I'll come to you first.
I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
Desmond, Dimmy?
2-1 win.
2-1 win. I'll echo that one. I'll go for a 2-1 win as well. And who am I going to pick for a goal scorer? Let's see who's going to get the winner of the 2-1. You know what? I think Bruno, because generally after we have a really shit performance, Bruno's the type of person who rolls up his sleeves, gets the game by the scruff of the collar, and just puts in one hell of a performance. And he's due a Champions League goal. I don't think he's got one for us yet.
Or a red card, one of the two.
No, that's Joe Little, according to Spurs fans anyway. Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1, same as Dimmy. Let us know in the comments down below what your prediction is for the Champions League game and what, if any, changes you would make, but also your reaction to the disaster class down in London today. That'll do us for today, lads. Thank you both very much. We will be back sometime this week with a preview and review of the Champions League game and Premier League games coming up. Thanks for everybody who has listened. Thank you everyone who has watched. If you please don't already, subscribe to the channel, give it a video a thumbs up, and hit that hype button if you're watching on the YouTube app. It really makes a difference to us. Thanks, Timmy. Thanks, Mark. I will catch you both on the next one.
Take it easy, guys.